what's up everyone? My name is Matthew Dale, and today I'm going to share with you how you can build your own external switch pedal for under $20. These little pedals are great. You can use them for basically any function in any digital modeling device, as well as a number of functions for independent pedals as well. And if you did see my video that posted earlier this week on the switches inside the Fractal ecosystem, you'll know that I used this little box of magic as a stand-in switch to add a ton of functionality to the FM3. So let's dive in and let's take a look at how to build one of these guys. All right, so here are all the parts that you need. I have the enclosure here for the switch that comes with the screws for the back plate. And I went ahead and I got a painted one, white. I might put some, Sharpie art like I did on this one on it for some fun. And then I have these momentary switches here. So clickless, just up and down momentary switches with the two lugs. Two of them, one for the tip switch and one for the ring switch. And then this is a TRS 1/4-inch jack. Pretty simple there. And then I'm also going to use some vintage cloth pushback wire on this one. Really, no big benefit there. I just like, to push back the wire where I'm making connections rather than try to strip it down. But, your wire can vary. It's pretty non-important in this case. Over here on the tools side of things, I've got, wire snips and a little pliers just to make sure the wires are going where they go. I'm going to use some rosin core 6040 solder here and screwdriver, really just to connect the back plate. A couple wrenches to tighten things down. Of course, a soldering iron as well. This is not a very good one. You can see this soldering tip here is just getting to the point where it's almost falling off of the thing, but it gets the job done. You don't need anything too fancy for this. It's a pretty simple project. And then I'm going to use some painter's tape as well, just to kind of mark where I'm going to drill my holes. All right, so here is my layout done. I've got the two spots for the switches right there and the spot for the jack on the back. I did use a combination square to get these locations. I came in an inch this way, an inch that way. But you don't have to get crazy exact on this stuff. I just kind of did a rough centering on the back here for the jack, but you can put the stuff basically wherever. The nice thing about this enclosure is you have plenty of space to work on the inside. On the mini one that I made a little while ago, this is pretty crammed in here, relatively speaking, with all the wires and connections. So I was a little bit more particular on the layout for this one to make sure that everything would work on the inside. But this one, you can get creative, a lot more creative than me, rather than, just the switches there. You can sort of do your own thing. So now I am going to drill 1/2-inch holes on the top for the switches, and then a 3/8 on the back here for the jack. I'm going to put some safety goggles on, fire up the drill press, and away we drill. All right, so here's the enclosure after we did the drilling. Everything looks pretty good there. This is aluminum, so it's pretty easy to drill through it. I was using brad point bits, which probably isn't the best for metal, but this is pretty thin, so it got the job done. And as you can see, the switches going pretty nice, and the jack does as well. I mean, obviously the other way, but you get the idea. So now I think what I'm going to do is I am going to solder everything up outside the enclosure, and then I'm going to put it in, connect it up, and we'll see what we got. All right, so I've gone ahead and tinned all of the lugs on the jack and the switches just to make it a little bit easier to connect the wires. Now, quick note about the switches. They do have, let me get it in focus here, they do have two lugs, but it actually does not matter which one you connect to ground and the other, which one you connect to either the tip or the ring. Both will work. Just for the sake of consistency, I think I'm going to go ahead and just connect all the left lugs to ground. And now what I think I'm going to do as well is just lay this out to make sure that I've got all the proper length of wire that I need when I connect all of the dots. And actually, it looks like all of this should be plenty. That'll give me some wiggle room. And yeah, that's really just about all you'll need. And again, the pushback wire is kind of nice and convenient because, as the name implies, after you cut your wire to length, you just push back the cloth and then make your connection. So there's that wired up, and just gonna make sure that everything is clear of everything else. All right, on to the switches. Now, something real quick, I did mark which ones I want on the inside here. I want that to be the tip and that to be the ring. That way it just serves as a reminder because, I can think, tip, ring, and then sleeve on the front panel there, or on the front of the box. So I just went ahead and marked that in there so I know which is which. All right, so there's everything wired up. The connections look pretty good. I might trim that up a little bit just to make sure that those never come in contact. Everything looks really good on the other one, and things look halfway decent over there. So I'll trim this guy up a little bit, and then we will put it in the box and do a dry fit, plug it in, and make sure that everything is working as it should. All right, so here is basically the final product. We've got our switches there and a little simple jack, and there is the inside. Let's plug it in and see how it works. All right, so I got this plugged into switch 2 in the back of the FM3, and what this should do is scroll through the views. And if you've seen my other video on switches, you'll know that I've set this up to do that very thing. So this is scenes 1, 2, and 3. And there we go. There's scenes 4, 5, and 6. And 7 and 8 in the tuner. And let's go back to view number 2. There's that. And then view number 1. Perfect. We have a working switch. So there you guys have it. This is a relatively simple project. You don't need crazy soldering skills to do something like this, and these are really useful, especially in the Fractal ecosystem. I will have links to all of these parts that I used for this build in the description box below, and while you're down in the description box, you should download my Fractal Favorites Amps and Cabs guide, where I take you through my go-to settings on some of my favorite amps for killer tone. If you like this video, go ahead and consider subscribing if you are not already a subscriber. I'd love to have you. My name is Matthew Dale, and I will see you guys on the next one.